Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share something simple yet life-changing with you. We often think transformation takes months, even years. But what if I told you that your life can shift dramatically in just 7 days? That's exactly what happened to me when I started practicing a few powerful habits that changed my life in only 1 week. The first habit was waking up early. Instead of dragging myself out of bed late, I made the choice to rise with purpose. The quiet hours of the morning gave me clarity, focus, and a sense of control. It wasn't easy at first, but within days I noticed a new rhythm in my life. I wasn't chasing the day anymore. The day was chasing me. The second habit was gratitude journaling. Each morning, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, they were simple: my health, my family, my morning coffee. But soon, I began noticing small blessings everywhere. This habit rewired my mindset from focusing on what I lacked to appreciating what I already had. And gratitude, my friends, has the power to shift your entire outlook on life. The third habit was intentional movement. I committed to at least 20 minutes of exercise daily, whether it was walking, stretching, or a short workout. Not only did my energy levels skyrocket, but I felt lighter, more confident, and sharper mentally. The fourth habit was limiting distractions. I reduced my screen time and replaced endless scrolling with purposeful activities, reading, learning, or simply sitting in silence. That silence gave birth to creativity and peace I didn't know I was missing. And finally, I practiced the habit of reflection before bed each night. I asked myself, what did I do well today? What can I improve tomorrow? This one question kept me growing, one day at a time. Friends, these habits may sound small, but within a week, I felt the difference: more energy, more focus, more peace. Imagine what they could do for you, not in a year, but in just 7 days. So my message is this: you don't have to wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect motivation. Change begins the moment you decide. Start with one habit today, and in just 1 week, you might look back and say, this is where my new life began. Thank you. Waking up early is more than just adjusting the time you open your eyes. It is about choosing to rise with purpose and intention. The quiet of the morning carries a unique energy, a stillness that allows you to connect with yourself before the world demands your attention. When I decided to wake up earlier, I noticed an immediate shift in my state of mind. Instead of rushing to catch up with the day, I was ahead of it. The silence gave me clarity, the extra time gave me focus, and the discipline gave me strength. It is in those early hours that creativity flows more freely and ideas that are often drowned out by the noise of the day finally surface. There is something powerful about starting the day while the world still sleeps. It feels as if you have been given a head start, a chance to design your day rather than react to it. By waking up early, I could plan, reflect, and set intentions without interruption. It allowed me to begin my mornings calmly, without chaos, and that calmness carried throughout the rest of the day. Of course, it required sacrifice, sleeping late, and indulging in unproductive habits had to go, but what I gained was far more valuable, more energy, more focus, and more time for things that truly mattered. It was not about waking up at a specific hour. It was about reclaiming ownership of my mornings and, by extension, my life. In just a week of consistent practice, I noticed myself becoming more productive, more positive, and more centered. Waking up early became the anchor that stabilized my day and the foundation upon which every other good habit could grow. It was a small change that created a big transformation. Gratitude is one of the most powerful habits that can reshape the way you view life. When I began the practice of writing down just 3 things I was grateful for every morning, I didn't expect it to have such a deep impact. At first, my list was simple, things like my health, my family, or even the cup of tea that warmed me at the start of the day. But as I continued, I started noticing details I had previously overlooked. The smile of a stranger, the sound of birds outside my window, or even the strength I showed during a difficult moment became reasons to be thankful. This simple shift in focus changed my entire outlook. Before, I often found myself dwelling on problems, things I lacked, or situations that weren't going my way. But gratitude rewired my thinking. Instead of being caught in a cycle of complaints, I began to see abundance everywhere. The more I practiced, the more my mind sought out positive moments throughout the day because it knew I would need to write them down. It trained me to notice the good instead of amplifying the bad. Gratitude also softened my attitude towards challenges. Rather than seeing them as roadblocks, I started viewing them as opportunities to grow or lessons to be grateful for. Even struggles carried a gift if I was willing to look for it. That realization gave me peace and resilience. Within a week, I felt lighter and happier. My interactions with others became warmer, my stress levels dropped, and my sense of fulfillment grew. Gratitude showed me that happiness is not about waiting for big victories. It is about appreciating small blessings that surround us every day. This habit became the lens through which life looked brighter. When I committed to daily movement, even for just 20 minutes, I discovered a surge of energy that I hadn't experienced in years. Exercise doesn't always have to mean intense workouts or hours at the gym. Sometimes it can be as simple as a brisk walk, a short stretching session, or a few bodyweight exercises at home. The important part is consistency and intention. Moving my body each day awakened not only my physical strength, but also my mental clarity. I realized how deeply the body and mind are connected. When one is energized, the other naturally follows. In just a few days, I began noticing changes. My mornings felt sharper, and instead of dragging myself into the day, I walked into it with energy and confidence. The fog of laziness and fatigue started to lift, replaced by a sense of vitality. It wasn't about how long or hard I pushed myself, but about making the choice to care for my body daily. That choice created momentum. When I moved, I felt more alive, and when I felt alive, everything else in my day seemed lighter and more manageable. Daily movement also improved my mood. Science tells us that exercise releases endorphins, and I experienced that firsthand. Even on days when I felt stressed or overwhelmed, a short workout shifted my perspective, replacing tension with calmness. It became a natural way to reset my mind and emotions. By the end of the week, my posture improved, my energy levels rose, and I felt stronger, not only physically, but mentally as well. This small commitment to move every day reminded me that our bodies are not obstacles. They are vessels of strength and resilience. When we nurture them, they return the favor by fueling our dreams and actions. When I decided to limit distractions, I realized just how much of my time was being stolen by things that added no real value to my life. Endless scrolling, meaningless notifications, and constant digital noise had been draining my focus without me even noticing. The first day I reduced my screen time felt uncomfortable. I caught myself reaching for my phone out of habit, searching for something to fill the silence. But as I resisted, I discovered a new kind of freedom. Instead of being consumed by other people's lives, I began investing in my own. With fewer distractions, I found myself able to concentrate more deeply on tasks that mattered. Work that used to take hours now took less time because I wasn't dividing my attention every few minutes. I noticed that when my mind wasn't cluttered by constant interruptions, ideas flowed more naturally. The silence that once felt awkward began to feel peaceful, almost nourishing. That peace gave rise to creativity, reflection, and inner calm. Another benefit was the quality of my relationships. By putting down my phone and being fully present with people, conversations became richer and connections deepened. I realized that distractions don't just rob us of time, They rob us of presence. And presence is the foundation of meaningful living. By the end of the week, I felt more in control of my life. I wasn't reacting to constant pings and updates. Instead, I was choosing where my attention went. This one shift brought me more productivity, and more clarity, and more peace. Limiting distractions isn't about rejecting technology. It's about reclaiming your focus and using your time with intention. When you guard your attention, you unlock the best version of yourself. Reflection is a habit that opened my eyes to growth in ways I had never experienced before. At the end of each day, I began asking myself two simple questions. What did I do well today? And what can I do better tomorrow? These questions created a mirror that showed me both my strengths and my weaknesses. Instead of rushing to bed and letting the day slip away, I paused to acknowledge my progress. Even small achievements, like completing a task on time or showing kindness to someone, began to matter because I gave myself credit for them. At the same time, reflection made me more aware of areas I needed to improve. Instead of criticizing myself harshly, I approached it with curiosity. How can I be better? What lesson can I take from this day? This shift turned mistakes into stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Every setback became an opportunity for learning, and every success became motivation to continue. Reflection also brought me clarity. Life moves so fast that we often don't realize how much we are growing or how many blessings we have already experienced. By slowing down to reflect, I started seeing patterns in my behavior, identifying what lifted me up and what drained me. With that awareness, I could make conscious choices to keep what served me and release what didn't. Within a week, this nightly practice gave me a sense of direction. I was no longer moving blindly through my days. I was growing intentionally. Reflection reminded me that progress is not about perfection, but about consistent learning. It created a bridge between who I was yesterday and who I wanted to be tomorrow. And with that bridge, growth became a natural part of my journey. Small habits often appear insignificant at first glance, yet they carry the power to transform an entire life when practiced consistently. When I began introducing small daily actions, like waking up earlier, writing down gratitude, moving my body, limiting distractions, and reflecting at night, I didn't expect to feel such a noticeable difference in just 1 week. But that is the secret of habits. The impact compounds faster than we imagine. A single small habit might feel too simple to matter, but together they build momentum that changes how you think, how you feel, and how you live. What I learned is that big transformations do not always require massive leaps. Most of the time, they begin with tiny, consistent steps. Drinking more water, reading a few pages of a book, or spending a few quiet minutes in self-reflection might seem ordinary, but when repeated daily, they reshape routines, rewire the mind, and renew energy. Each habit becomes like a seed, small in size, but capable of growing into something powerful if nurtured. Within just 7 days of applying these habits, I felt more energized, more focused, and more at peace with myself. That quick shift taught me that change does not have to be postponed to some distant future. It can start right now with the smallest decision made today. The beauty of small habits is that they are easy to begin, hard to fail, and once they take root, they inspire bigger changes naturally. By the end of the week, I realized that success is not built on extraordinary actions, but on ordinary actions repeated consistently. Small habits are the foundation of transformation, and if they can change my life in a single week, they can certainly change yours too, one simple step at a time.